All right, we are live. Welcome to the Collapse Experiment, where I read the news and answer your questions if you have any questions. All articles that I'm going to be referring to are on thecollapseexperiment.com. So if you have any questions, you want to know the source, you can always go to that website. The link will be available after the end of this in the description. So, first bit of news. This is from Zero Hedge. Russia threatens to limit vital exports of agriculture products to friendly countries only. Yeah, that's not a surprise. And why wouldn't they do that? That's something that we would do. And yet we're supposed to be pissed off about this for some reason. Senior government Senior Russian government official has threatened to limit exports of agricultural products to friendly countries only amid sanctions from Western nations in response to its invasion of Ukraine. It only makes sense. We knew this was coming. We had to have known this was coming. If not, then we really need to change who we have in power. Dmitry Med- Medvedev, who previously served as Russia's president from 2008 to 2012. I remember that. I mean, he was the president, but really he was just Putin's guy that played him while he was in office. Because really, Putin hasn't been out of his position of power since 2000. And is now Deputy Secretary of Country's Security Council, took to Telegram on April 1st, where he warned of the potential move. Yeah, this is not anything new. There's more to the article. You can find that on Zero Hedge or at thecollapseexperiment.com. So, moving back to other news, U.S. moves to suspend Russia from the UN Human Rights Council, calling presence a farce. Okay, this one's also from Zero Hedge. And I thought this was particularly amusing considering a lot of the horrible crap we've done in the past. Have you ever noticed that a war crime is only something that the losing party did during the war to try to get the advantage? As long as you win the war, there's no such thing as a war crime. That's pretty amusing. The United States is moving to suspend Russia from the United Nations Human Rights Council amid allegations that Russian troops have committed a massacre in the town of Bucha, which is on the outskirts of Kiev. Ukraine has alleged that 410 bodies have been found, many of which had their hands tied behind their backs and were shot execution style. Um, I have a hard time believing just about anything coming out of Ukraine these days because we've already had video footage where they say, hey, this was the city, look what Russia did to it. And then reporters find the exact same footage out of Lebanon from 10 years ago. And the only thing that changed was the label right down here at the bottom of the corner. And we're supposed to still believe stuff that's coming out of this country. It's pretty insane. So, for one, unless there's an actual investigation, unless the UN puts in people to say whether or not this happened, I at this point don't care. I'm just not going to believe anything coming out of Ukraine. And I don't believe anything coming out of Russia either. Although I will say I have more trust in certain things coming out of Russia than I do with Ukraine, especially when they're talking about shutting off natural gas to Europe, whether it's banning exports of agricultural products to unfriendly countries. Yeah, that kind of stuff I would believe. But when it comes to this type of stuff, I'm just not believing it. So yeah, you can find that at thecollapseexperiment.com. Dimon warns U.S. faces unprecedented risk from combo of inflation, war, and COVID. a lot of these are just no-brainers. Um, let's see here. While his friend and fellow Democrat Larry Fink used his latest annual letter to cheer for an accelerating transition to ESG. Yeah, not looking forward to that. While simultaneously warning about the fallout from deglobalization spurred by Russia's incursion in Ukraine, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon warned Monday in his own annual letter to investors that the U.S. economy faces unprecedented risk from the confluence of COVID pandemic, high inflation, and of course, the situation in Ukraine. And then there's a couple quotes from Diamond. They present completely different circumstances than what we've experienced in the past, and their confluence may dramatically increase the risk ahead. Later on, he goes on to say, turn up sanctions. There are many more that could be imposed on whatever may, in whatever way national security experts recommend to maximize the right outcomes, which I do not agree with. I think the sanctions being imposed on Russia are not going to affect Russia. Russia's a culture that is traditionally isolated. Yes, they have international trade, but quite frankly, I don't think they give a crap about anybody outside of their country. And they're used to having hard times. It's like that meme where it's showing the books and it says the English, I will die for honor, Americans, I will die for love. Um, I forget what the third one was, but then it goes to Russia and it's like, I will die. I mean, it's sanctions are not going to affect a culture like that. So good luck. I just don't understand where they think that this is going. So that's the top 3 stories I found for today to be posted on the website. I do have like a bonus one here, but I'm going to save that for later. As for this is something I posted Sunday night, also on the collapseexperiment.com. German retailers to raise prices 20 to 50% on Monday. So this is something that we're going to be seeing here pretty soon. Just days after Germany reported the highest inflation in a generation, which is 7.6%, annual pace and blowing away all expectations, giving locals a distinctly unpleasant deja vu feeling even before the Russian invasion of Ukraine broke, while few supply chains remained and sent prices even higher into the stratosphere. So as of today, they're reporting 20 to 15% increase in food prices in Germany. That is huge. So yeah, that's coming here. And there's a tweet here translated. Aldi, for example, expects increases of 20 to 50% in its purchase prices in the coming weeks. Already on Monday, meat, sausage, and butter are to become significantly more expensive at Aldi. And Aldi is a German-based company, and if you have one near you, that's going to affect your grocery shopping. I like Aldi. It's sad to see that is happening. So yeah, Aldi's not going to be the place to go to get cheaper food anymore. So I would suggest if you have like Amish or Mennonite or any communities like that near you, you might want to check out their stores and just start buying in bulk. Let's see here. Anything else worth? Well, we know Shanghai is in lockdown. Oh, Gazprom halts gas shipments to Europe via critical pipeline. Yeah, so that was April 3rd. Looks like Putin kept to his promise. Everybody thought because April 1st came and went that he didn't fall through with his threat, and not so true, as we now know. After European nations imported the most gas from Russia sources yesterday in months, scrambling to stock up on supplies as Russian President Vladimir Putin's deadline to either pay for gas in rubles or be cut off came and went. Russian gas giant Gazprom has officially halted all deliveries to Europe via the Yamal Europe pipeline, a critical artery for European energy supplies. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I can't say that I couldn't see Putin not going through with that. And a lot of people are going to say, "Well, it's paying for his invasion. It's paying for his war." Um, he doesn't need it. Russia has like no debt for the most part. Like whereas U.S. is $30 trillion, more than 100% the national GDP, Russia is pretty close to zero. So the only other article on here I want to talk about: Hurricane Katrina revealed U.S. secret bioweapons lab in New Orleans. This is actually based on an old article, and this is from veteranstoday.com. It was posted, I believe, yesterday. And this is an old Michael Rupert article, but it goes to show that we had weapons labs, 15 years ago that were in the U.S. And considering the hurricane that hit there and the possibility of something being released, we got lucky. So let's see here. And why is it not? Where is the article? Read more. Michael Rupert, 2005, prior to the arrival of Hurricane Katrina. Yeah, there was over 5,000 monkeys kept outdoors behind barbed wire. Yeah, because that's not a combination for disaster. Center for Disease Control reported very little damage. But yeah, we had this stuff going on here during the Bush administration. So very, very interesting. Great article. You can find that at thecollapseexperiment.com. And definitely an interesting read. Now, let's see here. The only other thing I have to get to is over a pipe. What do you think about dairy farms dumping their milk and farmers disposing of their surplus in meat and crops? Is this to keep the prices high, as some people speculate? No. Could all of this go to the homeless instead? No. Okay, so when it comes to the milk, now this happened back in 2020. The schools were closed. A lot of times, dairy farmers they already have their set buyers. So when you have places like schools closed that buy a ton of milk and they get it in a certain way, whether it's milk cartons or large containers, that doesn't translate well to go to stores later on. So for one, milk only has a shelf life, a very, very short shelf life. So going through the whole pasteurization process, which costs money, bottling it, which costs money, getting containers to put it in, that was another issue in 2020 because the factories to make the containers to put the milk in were shut down due to COVID. So there were some farmers that even if the school in the area was open, there was nowhere to get the containers to ship the milk to the school. But in most cases, schools were closed. So yeah, the only thing you can do with it at that point is to just dump it. Otherwise, it's just going to cost you in order to refrigerate it, to store it, and there's no guarantee that it's actually going to leave before it goes bad. The only other alternative with dealing with milk like that is to feed it back to some type of something else you might have on the farm. but for the most part, like if you had goats or something, you could actually feed it to the goats. But most dairy farms do not have anything other than cows. Um, so that's just not going to happen. Um, it's not to keep the prices up. It's because there's nothing else that they can do with it, unfortunately. And they have to milk the cows. If they stop milking the cows, cows stop producing. The only way to get the cows to start producing again is to impregnate them, have the calf. They start producing milk again. But once you stop, you lose everything. So yeah, they're paying for feed. They're feeding the cows. The cows are producing. They can't sell the product that they're producing. It doesn't really have anything to do with the prices. As for the culling of meat, disposing of their surplus in meat and crops. Again, if you don't have a buyer, if you have no way to transport it, no one to sell to, you're not going to pay somebody to harvest your field. You're going to, as an accountant, if you have a good accountant, you're going to write it off as a loss. If they do anything else with it, like even if they gave it to homeless shelters, for one, farms are not really located near homeless shelters. Homeless shelters are in city centers. A lot of your farms are far from that. Where I live, Cadillac is not a very big city. I don't even think we have homeless shelters. We have homeless, but it's not a big enough population to have a shelter. So um, we would actually have to send stuff, which is going to cost money, to some place like Grand Rapids. Maybe Traverse City has one. I don't know, but you're talking an hour and a half drive. You're paying for a truck. You're paying for a driver, the fuel, the manpower to load the truck, to harvest from the field. It's it's really a sad situation when it comes to a lot of this. Plus, Europe right now, when it comes to the meat. So, because of the war in Ukraine and Russia, which supplies what 30 plus percent of all wheat, and that's not including the other grains that they supply. They're saying that the grain feed supply for cattle in Europe is going to run out in, I think, a month. And at that point, the farmers have to figure out who they keep and who they don't. Because once the feed is gone, they're going to be looking at alternatives. They're going to be trying to find some other way to feed the cattle that they do have. They're going to have to slaughter what they can't feed. Otherwise, that's just a complete loss if they starve to death. Um, it's also going to lower the price at the market if a bunch of people are having their cattle slaughtered and to try to get some money to come in before it's just a complete loss. Um, but yeah, with the loss of feed, the inability to feed your cattle, you're going to have to cut out something and try to extend the amount of feed that you have and try to keep what you can. And at the end, still come ahead with prices. Um, and as for could this all go to the homeless? There are organizations. I believe there's one in the recent Mother Earth news that I was looking at the other day. And actually, here it is. Let's see here. Farming Dreams. Let's see here. That's Appleseed Organics. But it was a group of Salvation Farms. Saves five. Let's see here. It saves 50,000 to 70,000 pounds of surplus crops from being lost per year. So this is a group that goes around the different farms that still has produce in their fields that can't be harvested or they don't have a buyer for it. They come out, pick it up, and they take it to homeless shelters. So there are groups that do this, but when you are relying on donations and setting up the network for something like that, knowing that there's going to be a farmer that's going to call you and say like, hey, I've got Brussels sprouts to pick up. We have a ton of apples still in the orchard, but they're not market quality, but they could go to the shelter. Things like that are hard to come by, and most people aren't willing to do it, unfortunately. So hope that answers your question. Going on 20 minutes here, and if you have any questions on anything that I talked about today, go to thecollapseexperiment.com. All articles are posted there. Constantly loading up new articles every day, trying to keep up with what the heck is going on and to give people a good idea. Hello, Vladimir Putin. Well, that wasn't expected. So, yeah, check out the website, and it's free. There's no ads. If you feel like helping out with the website or anything like that, you can check out our Etsy store, also the Collapse Experiment. Bumper stickers, books are available, and that's about it for me. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time to post them. And I probably should start out by saying if you have questions while I'm ranting or reading articles, to put them in the chat, and I can always go back and cover them at the end. But other than that, I don't have anything else. Elon Musk just bought almost 10% of Twitter, but I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing, considering, I mean, if he could make Twitter better, and people are saying, oh, he needs to bring back Trump. I don't really care if he brings back Trump or not. Also, that would probably kill Trump's own, what was it, like truth something. I don't even know what the heck it's called. It's supposed to be the rival to Twitter. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Elon Musk does with this. So Twitter stock is up, as if I give a crap. I don't own any. I just love how they brag about that kind of stuff. Oh, well, the stock is up. Well, do you own any? No. Did you buy any when it was down? No. Okay. Well then, how does this affect either one of us? All right, no questions. So I'm going to cut the feed and keep on typing.